So, James the Truth Connelly, I'm so happy to have you on this.
Nice to see you, Matt. Nice to see you, mate.
So you pretty much done it all, haven't you, in bare knuckle?
Yeah, well, I won the world title, won the British title, and I won the Police Gazette title. But now we're on to the Trigon now, where there's more world titles to be had.
And this place where we're at now?
This is Connelly's gym, based in Northfield in Birmingham.
How long have you had this?
2019, we had started the gym. This is our second. We moved into the first gym and then expanded from there, and now we're in this one. Me and my brothers.
Describe this sort of place. Who comes there?
Comes here, all fighters come in basically. Gym goers, people who just want to train on their own. PTs go on in there. It's a very family-orientated gym. You've got boxing classes in there, kids boxing lessons. There's always something going on in there. As I say, you got all the weight section over there, you got the boxing section over there. We've also got a barber shop in here, Dave Banks Barbers. We've got a nail bar, and we've also got a tattoo artist in here as well.
Yeah, so you get your tattoo.
It's like a one-stop shop, So if you want to come and train and get a tattoo or a haircut, make sure you come to Connelly's gym.
Wicked. You carry a real presence in bare knuckle. You've done it all. You seem to let your fists do the talking.
Yeah, it's more the so. I got into this game at the start in 2018. It wasn't about money then. You never thought, because I always wanted. I started this because I wanted to fight. I saw an opportunity that I could fight with no gloves on after fighting years with the gloves on. And when I look at it, I thought, I can't believe this is legal. I always said this before when I was watching YouTube and Ricky Nalder was doing it. Ricky Nalder, the Birmingham Bull, was the first person. Chris Trezise, they're the first two that I started clocking from Birmingham that were actually doing it. Linked up with them. I remember them giving me the phone numbers that I needed to do, and going from there. But I think the way my presence in the game comes from, I've always wanted to fight. There's been no bravado with me. I didn't care about the fame side of it, or even people knowing me where I was a fighter. I was just glad that I got the chance to actually release. I get so much out of fighting this. I was getting arrested all my life through fighting, and then when I could eventually get paid to fight, it was like, it's like all the stars were aligned,
Did you grow up locally to here?
Yes, I live now. I moved now. I live in Redditch now, but where I'm at now, Northfield, is where my family home, what I grew up in, is about 5 minutes from here. This whole area is where I grew up in. This literally is the town centre.
So you're like working class, tough. Yeah. What did your father do?
Builder on the building sites and stuff like that. My dad was, building sites. My mum was she had 9 kids. So, a lot of children to deal with back in them days, and them mums back in the day, you know what I mean? They're not like they used to be, let me tell you, you know what I mean? My mum's old school, she's 80 years of age now, and she could pass you a cup of tea boiling hot with asbestos hand, you know what I mean? It's like, they just cut different and they cut from a different cloth.
And you were one of 9 brothers, yeah?
I'm the youngest out of 9 I am, yeah. They call me the baby of it, but I've never acted like the baby of it, to be honest.
How was that growing up? I
could never, put myself in the same eyes as someone that never grew up with a big family, 1 brother, 1 sister. I had 5 of them, I was 5 brothers, 3 sisters. I was around a lot of people when I was young, I enjoyed it, Christmases, birthdays, everyone wants to get, we wanted what he wanted what I wanted, it was crazy growing up bunk beds and stuff like that, 2 in the bath at the same time back in the day. All these things I remember. Gillian custard every Sunday, watching programs and going to school, and growing up in a big family, it was good. It was very good.
And did you have a happy childhood?
Yes. Listen, happy childhood. My mum done whatever she could for us. When I look back now, she proper looked after us. Made sure we was fed, made sure we was. I know they class it as standard things as parenting, but she's done it well. You know what I mean? Made sure it was always good. If ever a day off school and was ill, she made sure that it was always looked after. I just remember times that she really looked after us.
You went to a tough inner city school?
Yeah, of course, man. You go into school and you start fighting from day one. I was just always fighting, man. Whether I come from my older brothers were always army, boxing and stuff like that. And then when I had a chance to start going to, when I was 10 years of age, it was more like me fighting, I used to be a big, just react, and then I used to think about my consequences after. I was a big lad for years and years and years, And obviously, people used to say something bad to me, and I just start throwing punches at them. I was getting in major trouble from just reacting through fighting. That's when the bare knuckle come up, and I thought I could do this and still get paid for it, or I could do this and not get arrested for it. It was like a big change in me, and a lot changed when I hit bare knuckle in 2019.
So as a kid, you knew you could handle yourself?
100%. Listen, I was in year 6 in school, and I went into induction day for year 7. I wasn't even actually in my secondary school yet, and I was in somewhere called, my primary school was St Bridget's, and my secondary school was St Thomas Aquinas. And when you're in year 6, you'll go and do an induction day where you go and see the school that you're about to go into in year 7 for like, listen, I was in the school at 9 o'clock. I was expelled from the school at 10 o'clock. I must have walked over to year 9 that was causing my brother trouble at the time, grabbed him and headbutted him. I was only year 6, until you're talking about a 10, 11-year-old child. You know what I mean? I'm going there and headbutting people and got expelled from the school. And the only reason why I managed to get back into my secondary school that my whole family had been to, St Thomas Aquinas, was because the priest at my primary school was one of the governors at the secondary school. They knew my mum, knew my dad, they knew the history of all the family and the brothers following each other's footsteps, going to the schools. And they let me in and I had to sign a contract that I'll never put my hands on anyone ever again. And I managed to get through. I managed to do the 5 years in my secondary school. I managed to have the skin in my teeth. You know what I mean? I was troubled in that school that I never managed to have a full-blown fight. It was always never really me or something like that, but I never managed to get expelled from the school again from that first day, you know what I mean? They give me a chance and that's where it really started from, you know what I mean? I was like, reactor, fighting and stuff like that. I was never the argument type, you know. I never tell, you shut up, no, you shut up, you shut up. I used to just start throwing my hands straight away, you know, which is, you know, now I get so much good from it, and then back then I used to get so much bad from it.
So you knew you could handle yourself as a kid. When did it translate into trying to take it somewhere further into sort of boxing?
I started boxing at 10 years of age, and I followed my brother's footsteps, you know, Michael, John, Patrick, Darren, Matthew. There was all boxing, they all boxed, carried on what they're doing, carried on with their jobs, you know. My brothers were like boxing straight into the army, And I just, when I was 10 years of age, I jumped on the boxing, and you know, I started amateur. My first fight was 11 years of age, and that's what I always done. I had brothers that were in the army. I had 5 older brothers. No one could mess with me, you know what I mean? I had the attitude. I mean, I remember it, you know. Say anything to me, and my brother would deal with you then times. And then I started to be able to really fight myself, then look after myself. And I didn't need my brothers in that time. I remember I phoned in my brother one time. I was like, can you come and help me? I was getting chased by a bunch of guys. I was only young. I said, can you come and help me? He's going, listen, James, I'm not coming to help you. If you can't deal with that situation you're right now, or not get yourself into it, you're never going to be able to do well in life. You know what I mean? You're always going to be asking for someone's help, and that's when I realised. Then, you know, I started to be able to, like, you know, look after myself really, and not rely on my brothers, and not actually say anyone my brothers, because, you know, when it comes to that crunch time, they ain't coming to help you, man. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, they want you to grow properly up yourself. You know, be able to handle yourself, which is eventually started doing. You know, and that's where it comes. It's more like, you know, you're putting your toes a little bit about how you're going to react to something, and that's what I've done. I started dealing with everything myself.
Even now, you feel you're very active, aren't you?
Oh man,
you know, your mind is like yeah. It's
I
interesting.
haven't even been diagnosed with
it.
ADHD. I just diagnosed myself with it. I think it's OCD, ADHD. I've got every D's going, but at the same time, I channel it good now. Yeah. So even though I'm probably like, you know, moving a lot or something very fidgety, you know, I'll just go and train. I can train it out of me. I'm old enough now to know how I can channel it better, you know. So, you know, I might be a bit erratic sometimes, but I know it never pans out to getting arrested or, you know, making someone feel bad or, you know, reacting over something stupid. I just keep it into me, you know, but I channel it well.
And then as a kid then, so you started amateur boxing,
yeah,
and did you work your way up through the ranks?
Yeah, won the Midlands title in there, got to the national semi-finals, you know, and then obviously come to joining the army when I was 18. So I wanted to do what my brothers did. I wanted to go in the army and start boxing in the army, you know, and then go from there with it. But when I joined the army, I was wanted by police. The only reason why I managed to get in the army is because my brother's friend was in the army IDs, army office. So he'll be there, he would be on getting me in. And obviously we never went through no checks through the police and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They got me in there, and I was in there literally doing army training, wanted by police outside. Remember, the army police and the outside police are two different.
And then what were you wanted for by the police?
Fighting. Yeah. ABH, actual body of the arm, fighting someone. We had a fight. And I just ended up doing stuff after me for it. But, you know, I went in the army. I got into like about 7 weeks from passing out, and I went up to I was in Catterick, trained up Catterick up Darlington. So I was up Darlington then, and I got into a fight again, you know, and then police come, and I remember I pulled out my army ID card and gave me my ID card to the police. As soon as I radioed through, I heard through the radio, wanted in Birmingham. So it took me straight from Darlington on a night out, straight into the cells, in there all weekend, Yorkshire cells. Went straight to Birmingham Magistrates Courts the next day, straight to Bridgeford. Young offenders, put me in young offenders. I was in there for about 4 weeks. So by the time I come out then and try to go back into the army, they've gone, you missed your last vital parts training. SNL large, service no longer required, because we're joining with an outstanding offence.
Was that devastating?
Devastating at the time, because it was all built up, man. The amount of training that I'd done, I was only 7 weeks out from passing out. I remember it was 6 months training, that is. I only had 7 weeks left.
Which regiment was this?
Irish Guards.
Irish Guards.
Irish
And
Guards.
Michael had been in the Irish Guards.
Irish Guards, yeah, Irish Guards, yeah. My other brothers being engineers. But, you know, it was devastating. I remember it now. There was nothing there for me then, nothing to grab onto. I thought, you know, I've got to go back outside. I had so much of an aim in my head to go and follow my brothers with the boxing in the army and go professional from that route. That once that happened, it felt like, what's the point now? You know what I mean? I was really in that sort of mind, and then I started selling drugs, hitting the streets more, being out, living that sort of lifestyle, you know. And that's it. And really, you're there then. You think this is where you should be or something like that. But when you come out of it, like I've done with the bare knuckle and started training again, and for the last 8 years, you know, everything just turned around, because I went back to what I was originally doing before I started getting into trouble, before the police, before getting chucked out in the army. I went back to what I was doing, and that's what I was so of it, the training, the focusing on fights and stuff like that. And that's when my life turned around. Turned around because I went back to what I was originally doing before all the shit. You know, it was like 18 to 25 was my worst years as far as who I was as a person, you know. From the trouble, getting into trouble, being out on the streets, selling drugs. Everything to do who I was as a person was just turmoil from that age. And when I went to jail at 25 and I got out when I was 28, I found the bare knuckle when I was 31. So it was still 3 years from getting out of prison. I never got in no trouble. I went through, like, I had a little daughter as well at the time that saw me when I was in jail, but she actually thought I was there painting, decorating. Every time she come and visit me in a visiting centre, she was, Dad, she thought I was painting, decorating now, I was working in the prison. I wasn't in prison, you know what I mean? This is what I kept from her for years.
How low did you get?
In where?
No, in your self-esteem and
horrible, man. Horrible.
Depression.
You have to build yourself up, man, from then. When you go to somewhere like prison and you feel like, you know, I wasn't even scared about jail, you know what I mean? I was never, it was more like, it's more like the things that you miss that you don't care. I don't care if I had a fight. I was always that sort of person anyway, so I was never afraid of people or intimidated by people. So when I was in there, I was like, they need to watch out for someone like me, to be honest with you. If I get put in a mode, it's not nice for people. It wasn't. As I say, the first year of me in jail, man, I was just punching people, punching to the officer had to come up to me and say, what are you so aggressive for? I said, I cannot believe I'm here. I still couldn't believe I'm here. You know, I think I rehabilitated after 6 months in jail. You know, I was done there, but I still had 2.5 years left to do in prison. You know, by the time I got out there, I said to the officer, I said, once my feet step over that line, I'm done with jail, I'm done, I get it now. I actually get it. And it was more me, how I reacted to things, how I was as a person. It was all me. I'm looking for everyone on the outside, trying to see how can I change myself, and really it was just me. Who was hanging around, how I reacted to things more than anything. You know what I mean? Like, someone could push me, let's say. I'd punch them. But what they've done to me, what I've done to them is 10 times worse than what they did to me. I'll always make it worse. It wouldn't be about them pushing me anymore. It would be about me punching them.
Do you feel it was like wasted years, or you always needed that?
As I say, I've got to look at it on, did it make me the person I am now? Yeah. I mean, did it make me go through all of that to know not to go? Like I said to him when I got out of jail, I'm never going to jail again. Never went there again. Never got arrested again. That was valuable time in the boxing I could have been doing. I would have been a pro boxer. The thing is about me, if I never went into this, I'll grab something. I'm so glad that the bare knuckle come along, because I got to grab it then. People talk about my amateur experience and my credentials and who I am. That wouldn't have happened if bare knuckle were coming along. I would have missed the boat. I would have been 31. What have I been doing? Went into pro boxing at 31 and, you know, missed all them years that I was in prison and stuff like that. I would have really, you know what I mean? It's like a blessing that the bare knuckle come along, that I could show all my experience from training all that when I was younger, 10, 11, 12, 13, running with men and doing all this sort of stuff that hard training I used to do. And it all fizzled out because I started getting in trouble. You know, so I managed to grab hold of it when I was 31 again, and I managed to just keep it going, which I'm still doing it now.
How did you come across the bare knuckle then?
YouTube and Ricky Naldo. I've got to say, Ricky Naldo's probably one of the main ones. Christian Zayas is as well. That I saw 2 Birmingham lads that I actually knew personally that were actually doing this sport. The black eyes that I saw, you see them looking at them thinking, my God, how is this legal? You know, you always thought giving someone a black eye, that battle, punching without gloves on, you're getting arrested, which you would do back in the day. This wasn't even a thought about sport, let's say. And I saw them doing it, and Ricky Naldo coming with his black eyes all the time, and boom, I mean, it lit something inside me. I couldn't believe it was as to say, legal. And that was it then. I phoned Ricky Aldo. I said, Ricky, man, how can I get involved in this bare knuckle? And they give me Jim Freeman's number then. And the rest is history from there, you know.
And then what suits you to bare knuckle in particular?
Mentality, the mentality I am. When the going gets tough, I can keep it going. Doesn't matter if I've had my teeth half knocked out in fights. I've never broke a hand in fight. I've been blood coming down my eye. I've been punched in the eye and you can see a shadow over your eye straight away and you're trying to move it out of the way and it's not happening. Like, when it's come to the nitty-gritty part of bare knuckle, I've been able to survive in it. The wars that I've had, the fights that I've had, the rounds that I've done, the people that I've fought, you know, these come from mentality, who I am deep down as a person. Where if there was a war going on, I'm on the front line. You know, that's my mentality. You know what I mean? It's like, if I was there, I'll be helping people. I'll be trying to save people. That's my mentality. And when I put that into the bare knuckle, you know, when I get hit and it hurts, it don't hurt. You know, I've got a good mentality like that. So, yeah, we all can get fit. Anyone can get fit as a fighter. You know, whether I'm fit, it's what's in there and what's in there when it comes to the actual fighting, the hard rounds, and you know, things are happening there. You think, I don't have to be here. There's a million other things to do to earn some money. Or, you know, not get damaged as much, but it's in me. You know, when I start my training camps, I get into it and I'm like, you know, I get to the end of my training camp and I'm actually thinking, I would hate to fight me. I get to that point, I would hate to fight someone like me because what's inside of me and where I'm willing to go. And I've shown it. It really is, for me, bare knuckles a mentality, you know. You know, you can see the pro boxers coming over now and they're trying to have a go at it, and we saw some of them lasting it and some of them not lasting it. You know, it's a whole different ball game. You know, I can deal with that, and I've been dealing with it with top level fighters ever since I started in 2018. You know, I have really had top level fighters in my thing, and they've built me up to this. You know, to be the person, the fighter I am now, is to go through, and that's why I am. My presence in BKB is what it is, because when people look at me, if people who know bare knuckle now, they'll know the history of bare knuckle, and they'll know the fights I've been involved in and the fights that I put on.
Do you find a purity to bare knuckle?
Well, it takes that. I don't need to think that I'm hard or think that I'm tough or think this or question it. You know, number one, I won't go around acting hard anyway. It's not really me. You know, I just know deep inside to me when the shit hits the fan, I can deal with it. I can deal with some serious shit. You know what I mean, pressure-wise and recovering from training-wise. The pure, what this sport can do to you, mate, will break people. That point of breaking, it can't do it to me. You know what I mean? I've been there, been in fights where I could have easily just laid down and thought, you know what, forget it, man. I'll fight another day. It's not in me, you know, and that's why I've come with the fights that I've in me, you know, and I've got to use that to my advantage, you know. If that sort of person's in me, and I found a sport that can bring you to that sort of edge of that cliff, sort of, so to speak, and I can survive in it, I'm going to do it, you know. Bare knuckle is one of the hardest sports in the world, you know. You can throw a punch, crack your hand, and that's what I said about bare knuckle. People can convince. The first fight will say a lot. The first fight will make you whether you want to do it again or not do it again. That first fight, and you won't know until then.
You can train as much as you want as a professional fighter, but for bare knuckle, it's very unique.
My second fight was Dan Chapman. My third fight was Smudger Smith. My fourth fight was Rico Franco.
Wow.
You know, 7th fight Jimmy Sweeney. 8th fight Nelson. You know, when you look at these back-to-back high-level fights, with, you know, when you're fighting someone like Jimmy Sweeney, you've got to put yourself in a different sort of frame of mind. When you're fighting the Franco, it's a relentlessness. You know, you have to take yourself to places you don't want to go. And experience is a big thing in this, you know. I know how to block in bare knuckle now. I know how to throw punches properly in bare knuckle. Like, and I've learned it all on the job. No one's come across to me and said, James, you know what, do this bare knuckle. Yeah. I've had to learn myself, being on the job. You know, thinking, throw that punch, don't throw it like that again, you'll break your hand next time. And start throwing that.
What is the technique of throwing a bare knuckle punch?
Technique is basically keep your hand light. So you've got to realise, if your hand's tensed and you're punching the brick wall, your hand's going to break straight away. Every time it will break. You know, if you're soft like that, you keep it light on the hand and at the point of contact, bang. Like you should do in the boxing glove, but with the glove on, you're always going to be tensing, untensing, bang. So it's light and catch him at the end, and obviously have it where you try and catch him in them first 2 knuckles, you know, boom, and make sure that arm there, your forearm, is as straight as you possibly can when you are hitting it, because it's like a battering ram, then bang, and then you won't feel any pain when you actual self. When you start catching side of that hand, I've caught on the side of my hands there, and knuckle, I've caught enough on your thumb. You know, if you're not turning that hand over and catching on that side of the hand, and you even catch on that side, swelling hands. I mean, rounds get less. You know, I've been in a lot of rounds, fights a lot. Comes to the fourth round, and my hands are so stiff like that from the swelling. I mean, you have to just, the adrenaline takes over then. You know, this is very adrenaline. Will get you through a lot. You know, adrenaline will get you through a lot where you're throwing the punches and you just forget about the pain anymore. You know, you're throwing them to defend yourself.
Did the punches feel like a sting?
You know what? It comes to the point, man. Bang! You can just go bang. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you feel, and you don't even feel like, you don't even know if the cut's there. You just feel something there. You know what I mean? You don't know whether it's a big swell. You don't know how big it is. Just bang! You're there. Bang! There. You know, that's exactly what it is. And then obviously, if you get the bang and the shadow comes over your eye, you know, especially if blood's going in your eye, that's one of the worst. If blood's going in your eye, it just takes your vision away straight away. If the blur goes in your eye, where you're getting hit and it feels like your eyesight's come out of line or something, you know, like you got a pair of them mad glasses on and you put them on and it gets unfocused. That's exactly what it's like in there. You're wiping it as well. You keep on wiping your eye for it to go away, but it's not going away. It goes away in the next round. That's what I've noticed. You know, I'm like wiping it, like, whoa, it's like, whoa. You never know. Your retina could be torn. You know, that's what I mean when I say when it gets to the nitty gritty of it, I'm not messing around. You know what I mean? So, because I've been there in them situations where I could have went, you know what? I could have a torn retina here. You know, my eyesight could be going here, but I was still in there, mate. I was still trying to wipe it away. I was still trying to get my vision back. I'll come out the next round, and it was back to normal again. I was like, boom. So, and after going through them, these are like could be my third fight, 4 fights. I'm now on my 14th. You know, after going through them sort of things, you go there, you go into the fights then, how to block a bit more. Like, you won't block like you catch that. I'm grabbing the back of my head. If I'm coming to the side of someone, bang. I'd rather don't let them touch that ear or anything like that. They can touch that all they want, but don't let them touch the ear. Like, shut like people's on catch shots. Forget trying to this in boxing. You ain't catching nothing in there, so the flipping broken head. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you start blocking right, grabbing the back of your head and start letting to, and being more forceful with it, you know, you'll be able to last a bit longer in there. And then you've got to also learn that why you want to be enjoying the game, enjoy the training, get through the training, recover from training. It's just me, that is. I've always wanted to be a champion, you know, world champion, you know, but always thought it would be with pro boxing. This is my sport, you know what I mean? Bare knuckle is me.
Did you find that in bare knuckle you can rise quicker as well compared to the politics of glove boxing?
Yeah, because it was new, that's why. But you know what I mean? At the same time, the money wasn't there. You know, with the boxing and stuff like that, there's more money involved because there's a lot more involved in it. Whereas a bare knuckle at the start, we could just have a fight.
And then describe yourself as a fighter. Where do you see
I'm a box fighter. I'm a box fighter. I can box and I can fight when I need to fight. You know, I have started understanding that I'm a better boxer than I am a fighter, but I also can be a better fighter than I am a boxer. Depends what one's going to come at me, you know. But that's what I class myself as, a box fighter. Very experienced in the bare knuckle game, you know, with the rounds and, you know, how to throw punches and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I could be in a ring now and suffocate people with the way I am.
Who's been your sort of standout toughest fight?
It's got to be the Nelsons, you know. Boxing-wise, could be like the Sweeneys. Remember, depends when you're talking about toughness. You know, I've done the Franco 7 round with Franco, that was tough. Nelson, when it comes to the 3-minute rounds, I mean, now. Then you got the Sweeneys as well. It's very technical. You can't, you know, it's different sort of level of fights. Nelson, you're never going to have a jabbing match with Nelson. You're going to have a fight with him. Sweeney was going to have a jabbing match, but also involved the power as well.
Your 2 fights with LT then have both gone the distance.
Yeah, they're tough fights.
And they've been epics. How are you going to get that title off LT? Because I can see you're desperate to get that world title back. I love him as a fighter. He's interesting. He just keeps coming like Terminator.
His real fitness is high level. His reason for fighting is high level. He's like me, but he just ain't got the skill I have. But he's got the toughness in bags full. You know what I mean? Him getting punched in the face with bare knuckle. He's not like the average man getting punched in the face. The average man's getting punched in the face bare knuckle. Boy, bang, he's there. That's high level fitness, mate. The things that keep you up from these blows and these shots are the high level fitness you got. And I've trained with him. And I knew we was going to fight each other again. And I said to him, oh, let's go and do a training session. And we've done a training session together. And I know his level of fitness. I know what he does. You know, his high level Tabata, hill sprints back in there, lifting something, hill sprints, lifting something. This is what this guy is. He's a workhorse. That's why he comes out, boom, 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 boom. If you can't maintain that with him, which is last time I feel like I was burnt out in that fight where I wasn't reacting as much as I should be reacting. I will next time.
Your last fight, it felt that quite early on something happened to your hand?
Yeah,
Because something sort of turned
first
in the
round, I
fight.
was hitting him with that jab, bang, I thought my hand went.
Yeah.
And what it was, I look back on it, man. What I know more about recovery and training now, that was a 19-week training camp for me. Let's not forget that I trained 11 weeks and then went to Albuquerque and he got cancelled because he didn't want to do the 5 rounds instead of 6, which is, he had the right to do, but after training for that long and having all that fight, I had to come back from Albuquerque then, and then jump straight into another camp. I had a week off and then another 8-week camp. So I ended up doing 19 weeks for that fight. So when I got to that Wolverhampton fight, the second one, burnt out. I remember thinking to ask my brother Michael, I was like, I can't wait to burn that gym bag. And I just was done with the sport as far as like everything about it. I was just thinking, I have to fight. And I kept on thinking as well, I couldn't wait to get to the Sunday. I never usually think that. I can't usually wait to get to the fight. I can't. It's always the fight. I never think about the Sunday the day after. I just couldn't wait for the fight to be over. I had that mentality and I was like, I think it was too long. And the way I train, I'm always like this, going up and up. The worst thing about me is trying to stop me and get me back up there again, you know what I mean? It's and then coming back from Albuquerque and having to do that, jump straight back into another 8-week training camp. By the time I got about 5 weeks into that, man, everything was sort of off, but I had no choice. I couldn't be on the phone and say, listen, can we cancel that fight again for me and Nelson again?
Did you feel that part of the way through the Nelson fight, it was getting away from you, but you were determined to just last
there,
the fight?
I was there, no, he weren't knocking me clean out, If I went down, I was getting back up straight away. I was still throwing enough punches to keep me in the fight, otherwise the ref would have stopped it. I was still in there, I was still doing what I possibly can when I was losing the fight. There weren't no fight after I think it was a 6-round fight. After the 4th round, I was losing that fight. It was hard for me to get it back after that 4th round. But you didn't see me going, right, you know what? Come on. I'm down here. There's no way, even if I'm trying to throw 100-pound punches around that, I'm still not going to lose this fight unless I knock him out. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I was still in there.
Yeah, it was like a real Rocky, wasn't it? It was like,
there,
I'm going to last.
Boom, boom, boom. I come out, my face was like a butcher's block, man. I grew from him as my best friend for about 2 weeks after that fight. My head was like that, taking everything on the face.
And still, the BKB Super Middleweight Champion of the World, Team Smash Nelson!
How down did you feel after that fight? Did it affect you?
I just knew that I could have went in there better. You know what I mean? As I say, man, they call me the truth. I'd never come out with no excuses through everything in my fights.
How do you find the trigon?
But when you're in there and you're fighting, man, you don't actually know you're fighting in a triangle. You know what I mean? Using the space that you get given, you know what I mean? And you can use it. I'm the only fighter to get a draw in it. Let's see if anyone ever gets a draw in a trigon ever again. That's probably a world record, isn't it? Everyone will be able to do that. A trigon is something that's designed for... It's got 95% knockout ratio. It's the smallest fighting combat surfaces in professional sports. And I'm getting a draw in it. I've done every round in bare knuckle. I've got draws, I've got losses, I've got wins. I've done everything when it comes to bare knuckle. So when I do go to these shows, I've saw it all before. I remember I used to go to them shows and be freaking, you'd be nervous and daunting and sweating and that. No, man, I'm walking like I was going down I was going into my house.
And the boxing in the clinch, how do you find that?
Oh, that's if they want to clinch, to be honest with you. You got to realise most purely boxers, when they come close, and I've noticed that Clive has started splitting them up a bit quicker.
How do your family feel these days about you fighting? Like your daughter, she used to walk you out, yeah?
Yeah, my daughter used to walk me out, my 10-year-old, well, she's 17 now, and that's what I'm saying, they've all grown up now. I try and keep them away from all the fighting and now. They've got older, to be honest. I don't know why. When they were kids, they didn't really know what was going on. They just loved the enjoyment, the lights and stuff like that. But, as I get older and stuff like that, I don't really... Would you like my little... The same, would you like your daughter's getting to fight? I want like to fight. The amount of stresses I've been through ever since I started boxing, man. You just get down when you lose a fight. You get so high when you win a fight. And it's constantly up and down. And I want one to go through it, to be honest with you. I would hate it if anyone worried about me when it comes to this fight. I'm all right. I don't need someone to hold my hand or come and pat me on the back to make sure I'm all right when it comes to this game, mate. I don't need no one. I need to train to tell me what to do and train me for my fights. Other than that, I'm good to go. And
then Michael, your brother, he's in your corner.
Yeah,
this fight
still
coming
involved.
up.
He trains Smudger, Scrap King Smudge. Yeah, trains them. He's in my corner for the next fight, Michael. Yeah, I started off with my brother Michael, quality trainer. But as you know, as brothers get along, when we try and be together all the time, it can cause a lot of clashing, He's like that, that's what we like, that's what brothers do, don't they? But yeah, we get on now, we're very, very good pals and we own this gym together and yeah, family.
Yeah. And just describe the fight that's coming up.
David Winasky, tough, relentless guy. You know, we've got a game plan for him, which we'll do every fight. You know, we need to just deal with him. You know, because when that bell goes and it starts coming down, I look at winning, yeah, but I've got to just defend myself from someone not putting their hands on me. I'm like, how dare you think you're going to come in here and try and put your hands on me and think it's going to be easy, or you're just going to be able to just do what you want with someone like me. I have that mentality. Let's see how far they can go. Let's see how far David can go. When it starts getting hard in there, and it starts getting loud, let's see how fit you really are. Let's see how tough you really are. You know, when the going got tough for you in your last fight against Kieran Harden, you took a knee. With due respect, yeah, you're talking about blood, you took a knee. I never took a knee. I never take knees, mate. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about you don't get paid to be tough. I understand that. You know, but when he starts putting in there against my level the way I am, that's what I'm going to try and tell. I'm going to try and see how much you've got, mate. Let's see how far you can go. Let's see if you can break.
What do you think of his strengths then,
His
David?
strength size, his fitness. I don't even say his boxing ability, you know, so I've watched his boxing and stuff like that. It's his fitness, his relentless, his game. His gameness. He can be on the same level as me as far as the toughness with, but I don't think he's on the same level as me when it comes to the toughness, you know. And that sort of people who just get in and have a fight game, can be nervous about a fight but still go and have a fight. You know, wouldn't really want to have the fight but still go and have the fight. Them sort of people will still put himself into the fire even though they don't want to go in the fire. He's that sort of guy.
And do you work out your strategy with Michael before the fight?
I work out my actual trainer, which is Spencer McCracken Jr. Yeah, we do. We've had a game plan for it. This is my 7th fight with him now, Spencer. And yeah, we've had a game plan for all of them. You know, there is ways to beat opponents. It's as simple as that. Whether you're tall, short, stocky, whether you're a boxer, you want a box fight. You know, there is ways to beat these people, and that's what we do. You know, I do watch a lot of tape of my opponent. I do now in the last 2 weeks and stuff like that. A lot on them, and so it's all so because I'm high level now in my fitness. I'll be able to look at something now and be able to judge it a bit better than being at the start of camp out of shape. Looking at someone thinking, fucking hell, he's fast with that jab, but when you start getting fast, as you get on in camp, I start looking at it then and thinking, oh, he's not that fast now, is he? You know what I mean? And I'm a lot sharper than I was fucking six weeks ago. But yeah, tough game fighter, mate. Scottish as well, you know what I mean? He comes from Scotland, so he's got that in him as well, the old Braveheart. But yeah, man, a worthy opponent, mate. That's no pushover, you know. And I've never had pushovers, mate, so I'll never look at opponents being shit. You know, when have I ever had a shit opponent? When have I had someone that's going to give me? When have I had someone that just gets put in there for me to just smash up? I never had it. I never had it, mate, so I don't think I'll ever have that, you know, mentality of going in there thinking I'm going to do this geezer or he's nothing or he's not that. I'll probably look at them better than they actually are, to be honest with you, and I'll judge them by that.
You know, that trilogy with LT?
100%. Listen, we never talk about other fights then, but it's got to be number 3. Regardless if I lose the next 10 fights, man, you've got to fight me again. You've got to fight. I just feel like I've got better in the sport, you know. I feel like I'm just, because I stay training, I don't go out, I don't go and drink anymore, I don't go and smoke, I don't do anything. I'm not just a hermit because I've done it for so long now, it's just me. I get up, I train, I look after my child, I see my girlfriend, done. You know what I mean? As long as training is involved in that day, I'm good to go, you know what I mean? I'm either doing it or as long as I'm doing something good, I'm channeling my energy in good ways. I'm never going to do bad.
Do you find, are you happy in life?
Yeah, I'm more happy I've ever been. It feels better for me now, it feels nicer for me now because I've been doing it for so long, you know.
I love seeing you at the fight nights as well because you just live it, don't you? You're backstage, you're with the fighters.
I'm everywhere,
you know,
mate,
whether you're fighting or not, you're there.
Yeah, well, you know, I get a chance to. When you fight on a show, you got to realise it's a whole different experience. It is a whole different. You don't engage with anyone too much. You don't want to see. You don't want to go outside, see all the fans. You definitely want to be going around with people that's drinking and stuff like that. But once some shows come up that I don't have to do all that the fighting side, I'm there, man. I'm there. Having a few drinks with people, some of the fans. You know what I mean? They go, I can't believe you like this. I'm like, what do you mean? You know what I mean, look, we're all. It's good. It's good, you know. I built it up from that, you know, meeting people that support you and stuff like that. I mean, strangers in my life can support me massively. You know what I mean? To just come out of nowhere, I just remember their names on Facebook or Instagram and they come over to me and I'm like, proper love me. You know what I mean? So, you know, must be doing some good out of it.
It was interesting what you said about earlier that you only learn, you can be an elite boxer, but you learn bare knuckle by fighting it. Do you see yourself like, when you do retire fighting, going into coaching, promotions, media, you know?
Get a job with BKB. Give me a good paid job in BKB, because I'm sure I could scout fighters. I know what it takes to be a bare knuckle fighter, regardless of you just being hard as nails. There's a lot more than you just being hard. It's the emotional side of it. Can you deal with certain things at certain times? I'll be a good scout, I'll be a good commentary. I know about bare knuckle. I know what I'm looking at when it comes to bare knuckle. Now, as far as experience, I'm one of the most experienced bare knuckle fighters on this whole planet. Simple as that.
What do you think about some of the new crop? Because there seems to be a real sea change of fighters. It's very elite, high level. Some of the Welsh guys coming into it now.
Oh, they're boxers, with all due respect. Lee Selby, great guy. Lee Selby, the Vargas brothers, the Victor Ortiz, Gamboa. They're all coming through, but they've not done bare knuckle. And let's hope, I don't hope or anything. Go and do your business in there. If you can get through it and you don't mind, when you do take a bare knuckle shot in the face, or, because they make a decision themselves. They'll go and have the fight and they'll go, I'll do this again. There's 5 boxers that went in there, the Frankie Gavins of the world, the Jamie Coxes of the world that went in there, had it, see you later, I'm not doing it again. Not doing it again. Quality fighters, them. Big puncher, Jamie Cox with the gloves on. Went into bare knuckle, I think got stopped in the first round. Frankie Gavin, first round. No disrespect to him either, you know what I mean? It's a tough sport, you know what I mean? But it goes to show them guys can box anyone's heads off when it comes to gloves on. You put them in the bare knuckle fight, I'd won, never again. Then you got more fighters that come into the vote, like the Austin Trouts. Austin Trout come from that professional high-level boxing and he's come over and he's done really well now. I think he's undefeated in the bare knuckle, beat Franco as well.
Some really good young guys as well, like Joe Morgan.
Yes, but let's see, good fighter as well, yeah. But do you know what? He's had a couple of bare knuckle fights where you can say, like, he's showing a bit of the grit, you know what I mean? These newbie ones, like the Vargas brothers, Victor Ortiz, the Gamboas, you know what I mean? These guys, these are like high level world championship boxers coming over to a sport like this. Let's see how you do. I'm not the sort of guy that goes, oh no, I don't want them boxers to come over here and be able to do us. But listen, you will find out. Hopefully you can. Because only you're going to be able to make that decision yourself. No one can say, oh, you're a great bare knuckle fighter. It's whether you want to do it, whether when you get smacked in that face and that cut goes on or something. It's not glove boxing, it's a completely different feeling than getting hit with a glove. I'm not saying it's harder than the glove. I'm not saying I've never been hit by harder in the glove. You know, it's just that literal sting on them knuckles hitting that eyebrow or something like that, mate. It's not like a glove getting hit by a glove. And it's the shock of it. And then and one could come straight after it again. Someone throw a jab on right and bang, links, you know, you got 2 big dirty cuts on your head, and that's every single second of that bare knuckle fight. You've got to watch out for these same shots. Boxing, you could be there for 10 rounds, boom, you feel it, boom, 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 boom. Bare knuckle, bang, cut, bang, break, bang, cut. That's exactly what's going on. So can you deal with it? You know what I mean?
James, I absolutely love the fire inside you. I can tell. You know, you're sort of living and breathing it still. Yeah. It's still there, isn't it? Which is great.
Still there, 8 years later, still doing it now. As I say, 15th fight in 2 weeks, and we'll keep on rocking along, you know. As I say, man, I think this is a more mature sport for me. You know, if I would have done this in my 20s, I would have been too erratic and that, but now I'm older now, you know, more mature. I feel I can do it now, and I'm gonna keep on going to the walls fall off. It's as simple as that. I'll always train. I've got my own gym, so I'm always training. So it's a case of, if I want to keep on doing the bare knuckle, you know, and how far can I really go in it, even though I've done much in the sport. But
well, you're electric to watch, and I appreciate your time, and good luck. Good luck in Manchester.
Cheers, man.
Brilliant.